Sometimes in life we meet someone who doesn't just walk into our world, they change its direction. They don't push us, they don't pull us, they simply stand beside us with such certainty that suddenly every path feels possible. Together is better isn't a slogan, it's a promise, the kind that turns fear into courage, doubt into clarity, and ordinary moments into defining ones. And when you've found your soulmate, the person who believes in you, even when you forget how, you stop wandering. You start moving with purpose. Because the truth is simple. With the right person, you don't just walk forward, you leap, you risk, you grow. And once you feel that kind of partnership, that kind of devotion, there's only one thing left to say: I'll follow you anywhere, not because I have to, but because everything becomes better when we walk together. This isn't a speech about love. It's a speech about alignment, commitment, destiny, and why the greatest journeys in life begin with two hearts choosing the same direction now, not someday. The moment a man feels genuinely chosen, something fundamental inside him shifts. It's not about ego or pride, it's about identity. A man who is chosen by the woman he deeply values suddenly sees a clearer version of himself, stronger, braver, more capable. That single yes doesn't just confirm love, it confirms direction. It gives a man permission to step into the kind of purpose he always hoped he carried. When he knows someone believes in him, not for who he might become, but for who he already is, he begins to move with a different kind of confidence. The powerful truth is that men don't chase perfection, they chase certainty. A woman's certainty, her emotional clarity, her steady belief, her willingness to stand beside him even when he's still figuring things out, becomes the anchor that steadies his journey. When she says yes to him, she isn't just accepting who he is, she's reinforcing that he is enough. And for a man, feeling enough isn't just comforting, it's transformational. It turns doubts into decisions, hesitation into action, dreams into something he finally feels worthy of pursuing. The surprising shift is that a woman's yes often clarifies a man's purpose more than his own self-reflection ever could. While men are raised to solve, to fix, to build, they rarely stop to ask what they're actually building toward. But when the right woman chooses him, suddenly the noise quiets. Suddenly the distractions fall away. Suddenly he's not trying to prove himself to the world. He's showing up for someone who already sees the best in him. Her choice becomes his compass, guiding him toward a life that feels aligned, meaningful, and intentional. The deeper reality is that women choose differently than men. While a man often chooses from vision, imagining what could be, a woman chooses from intuition, sensing who he truly is beneath the surface. Her yes is not impulsive, it's instinctive, and because she chooses with both heart and awareness, her decision carries a weight men don't always comprehend at first. She's not choosing his potential, she's choosing his character. She's choosing his presence. She's choosing his willingness to grow, not his promise to be perfect. The beautiful shift is that when both perspectives meet, his desire to be enough and her desire to feel safe, valued, and emotionally connected, the partnership becomes something extraordinary. Her yes redefines his path, and his commitment transforms her world. And together, they don't just walk forward, they elevate each other into the people they were always meant to become. Courage grows fastest in the presence of someone who believes in you more than you believe in yourself. Men often carry their fears quietly, disguising them as silence, work, or distraction. But the right partner has a way of pulling those fears into the light without judgment. When a woman stands beside a man with calm certainty, she doesn't erase his fear. She makes him feel capable of facing it. Her belief becomes the spark he relies on when his own self-trust begins to fade. Strength becomes more accessible when a man feels emotionally safe with a woman he loves. Men aren't taught to seek emotional safety, yet it becomes the very foundation that allows them to take risks. When he knows she won't mock his vulnerability, dismiss his doubts, or weaponize his weaknesses, he steps into challenges differently. He's no longer avoiding failure, he's moving toward growth. The simple knowledge that she sees both his flaws and his potential and still chooses him creates a bravery he can't manufacture alone. A woman's influence becomes most powerful when she reflects the version of the man he is capable of being. Men respond intensely to reflection. They rise to the image held of them by the people they trust. When she speaks to his strength, he tries harder. When she recognizes his effort, he pushes further. And when she stands beside him in difficult moments, he becomes willing to do the uncomfortable work required to become the partner, leader, and man he wants to be. Her belief becomes a mirror that shows him not who he is now, but who he could become if he dared to grow. The shift happens when her courage ignites his own sense of responsibility. Men rise when they feel their actions matter to someone they love. Her encouragement doesn't make him dependent, it makes him accountable. It awakens the protective, driven, purpose-oriented part of him that wants to create security, stability, and emotional strength in return. When she believes in him, he begins to believe more deeply in the future they are building together. True bravery accelerates when a man feels he is not facing the world alone. The right partner doesn't push him from behind or pull him from ahead. She walks beside him in a way that makes every challenge feel more manageable. Her presence turns uncertainty into direction, fear into movement, and hesitation into the willingness to take the next step, even when the path is unclear. The real shift in a man's life begins when he understands that walking alone and walking with someone are not the same kind of progress. Men are conditioned to believe independence is strength, that handling everything alone proves capability, but movement by yourself is often just survival disguised as progress. When a man finally walks with the right partner, he discovers momentum, the kind of forward motion that doesn't drain him but fuels him, because he is no longer carrying the journey alone. A man's purpose becomes clearer when he has someone walking beside him, not behind him or ahead of him. Men navigate life through direction, and having a partner who aligns with that direction gives him something he cannot create alone: emotional alignment. When she matches his pace, supports his goals, and shares her own vision, he no longer feels like he's dragging the weight of the world by himself. Her presence turns his path into something shared, and shared purpose creates stability he never knew he needed. The emotional gap between walking alone and walking together becomes most visible when challenges arise. Men walking alone often push through difficulty with sheer force, telling themselves to just deal with it. But when a woman stands with him, he gains a second perspective, a second emotional engine, and a second reservoir of strength. Her voice brings calm where his mind brings pressure. Her insight brings direction where his logic hits a wall. She doesn't solve his problems, she multiplies his ability to face them. Momentum accelerates when a woman feels equally invested in the journey. Women don't just walk beside a man physically, they walk with him emotionally, perceptively, and intuitively. When she senses his stress, she steadies him. When she senses his ambition, she encourages it. And when she senses his hesitation, she reminds him of who he is. That level of emotional intelligence gives the relationship a forward force no man can replicate on his own. It's a partnership that transforms his effort into something more sustained, more focused, and more meaningful. The difference becomes undeniable when a man realizes that walking alone is about distance, but walking together is about direction. Men can get far by themselves, but they often get lost in the process, lost in pressure, lost in routine, lost in the silence they try to carry. Yet with the right woman beside him, every step gains purpose. With her insight, her steadiness, and her belief, his path stops being a solitary effort and becomes a shared mission that carries both of them forward with clarity and momentum. The moment two people realize their purposes align, something far deeper than love begins to form. Men often move through life with a mission-driven mindset, always searching for the why behind everything they do. But when a man meets the woman who not only understands that mission but strengthens it, his purpose takes on a new dimension. Her presence doesn't distract him from his path, it gives his path meaning. This is the shift where a soulmate stops being a romantic idea and becomes a strategic partner in his destiny. A man's drive becomes exponentially stronger when he feels his purpose is seen and supported. Men are fueled by recognition more than they admit, especially from the one person whose opinion carries the most weight. When she acknowledges his effort, his discipline, his dreams, he becomes more committed to the man he wants to be. Her belief becomes the reinforcement he relies on in moments he would normally doubt himself. He works harder not to impress her, but because she helps him see that his mission is worthy of pursuit. The connection deepens when a woman realizes her purpose doesn't get lost in the relationship, but elevated. Women often fear that aligning with a man's mission means sacrificing their own identity. But with the right partner, her individuality becomes essential to the relationship's direction. Her intuition, her emotional intelligence, her sense of timing, and her vision add layers to the mission he could never create alone. Instead of losing herself, she begins to influence the course of their shared future. The true power of the soulmate effect emerges when both partners feel their strengths amplify each other. Men bring structure, strategy, and focus. Women bring insight, grounding, and depth. Together, these qualities merge into a force that neither could create independently. Their combined purpose becomes something bigger than personal goals. It becomes a mission that impacts how they love, how they build, and how they move through the world. Each step forward is no longer for one person's success, but for a future being built by two aligned hearts. The shift becomes transformative when both realize they are not just walking the same path, but shaping it together. Men thrive when they feel their purpose matters, and women thrive when they feel emotionally connected to that mission. When both needs intertwine, the relationship becomes a unified direction. Their choices begin to reflect mutual intention. Their actions begin to reinforce shared vision. Their journey becomes a single mission carried by two devoted souls, moving with clarity, conviction, and unstoppable alignment. The word anywhere becomes powerful the moment trust becomes the foundation of a relationship. For a man, trust is not built through grand speeches or dramatic moments. It's built through consistency, integrity, and the quiet reassurance that he can lean into the relationship without losing himself. When a woman trusts him enough to say she'll follow him anywhere, he feels the weight of that responsibility in the deepest and most honorable way. Her trust becomes a compass that forces him to rise because he understands that her faith deserves his best direction. A man's confidence expands when he knows he is trusted, not controlled. Men thrive when they feel they are leading with purpose, not being micromanaged or doubted at every step. When a woman places her trust in him, she is not surrendering her power, she is empowering his. That trust tells him, I believe you can take us somewhere meaningful. And that belief strengthens his decision-making, his sense of duty, and his commitment to building something stable and secure. Her willingness to follow isn't about dependence, it's about alignment. A woman's trust deepens when she feels emotionally safe, valued, and protected. Women do not follow anywhere blindly. They follow when the man proves he can be steady in both his intentions and his actions. She looks for emotional consistency, honesty, and the kind of reliability that shows he won't disappear when things get difficult. When she senses that his leadership comes from love rather than dominance, she opens her heart further. Her trust is a reflection of the safety he creates, and that safety becomes the emotional landscape in which love can grow. The meaning of anywhere becomes transformative when both partners understand what stands behind it. For men, it symbolizes responsibility, the duty to guide with clarity, respect, and vision. For women, it symbolizes emotional surrender, the willingness to walk beside someone who honors her trust. When these two perspectives meet, anywhere stops being a place and becomes a commitment to shared direction. It becomes a silent agreement that no matter how uncertain life becomes, they will face it as a unified force. The power of trust becomes undeniable when it turns obstacles into opportunities for deeper connection. Men step more boldly into challenges when they know they are not walking alone, and women feel more secure in uncertainty when his actions reinforce his promises. Trust becomes the anchor that allows a man to lead with strength and a woman to support with confidence. It becomes the invisible compass guiding their love, not toward a destination, but toward a future built through devotion, consistency, and unwavering belief in each other. The future becomes worth following the moment two people decide that their lives are no longer running in parallel, but are intentionally intertwined. Men often see the future as something to chase, something to conquer, something that demands strategy and discipline. Yet when the right woman stands beside him, the future stops feeling like a distant ambition and starts feeling like a shared creation. Her presence turns his plans into purpose because suddenly he's no longer building for himself, he's building for them. A man's direction sharpens when he feels inspired by the woman who walks hand in hand with him. Men are driven by responsibility, by the sense that their actions matter to someone they deeply value. When she shows faith in his journey, he becomes more focused, more determined, and more intentional. Her trust amplifies his confidence. Her loyalty solidifies his courage. And her love gives him a reason to face uncertainty with strength instead of fear. When he feels her hand in his, he doesn't just walk forward, he leads with heart. A woman's emotional investment grows when she feels included in the vision he is creating. Women follow not because of control or obligation, but because of connection. She needs to feel that the road ahead isn't just his mission, but their shared horizon. When he listens to her intuition, seeks her perspective, and values her insights, she begins to see a future in which her voice matters. Her desire to walk with him deepens when she senses that her dreams are woven into his plans, not competing with them or overshadowed by them. Partnership becomes powerful when both roles complement each other instead of competing for control. Men bring structure, clarity, and direction, qualities that ground the relationship and give it stability. Women bring emotional awareness, foresight, and relational depth, qualities that give the relationship meaning and resilience. When these strengths merge, their future becomes more than a plan, it becomes a mission. His logic finds balance in her intuition. Her sensitivity finds strength in his steadiness. Together, they create a life neither could design alone. Momentum grows when both partners give one another the reasons and reassurance needed to keep moving forward. Men often need encouragement even if they rarely voice it. A simple expression of belief from her can reignite his purpose in an instant. Women need consistency even if they rarely demand it. A steady pattern of effort from him makes her feel valued, secure, and emotionally grounded. As each gives the other what fuels them, the relationship gains direction and energy that doesn't fade with time. Love becomes transformative when both hearts move toward a future defined not by perfection, but by partnership. Men walk with greater determination when they feel their efforts create safety and opportunity for the woman they cherish. Women open themselves more fully when they feel protected, prioritized, and emotionally understood. And as their connection deepens, the future they build becomes something both of them are proud to follow, not out of obligation, but out of devotion, alignment, and the undeniable power of walking together, hand in hand and heart in heart.